Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Supreme Pod. Paul Avery, co-host here. What follows is a special episode of a recording that we did for a LinkedIn Live discussing the latest predictions and trends for life science marketing in 2026. The presentation itself did include a few slides, so you may get value out of watching the full video version on YouTube. That being said, everything that we discuss should make sense, even if you're just listening to the audio version. We do hope that you enjoy.
So here we are, 5 trends that will redefine life science marketing in 2026. And so we have an all-star cast here, minus myself. I'm more the moderator, all-star cast here. My name is Southwell. I'm CMO of Supreme Group. So I've been doing life science marketing for basically my whole career. I did a little bit of management consulting first, and I was running the paid ads department. So everything PPC, social media, LinkedIn, Google ads at Supreme Optimization for 8 years. And then I transitioned over to CMO of Supreme Group. So now I handle all the marketing, earn, pay, and own. And so, yeah, that's like a super quick blurb on me. I've been doing this for a long time and I absolutely love it. And the person I want to introduce next is actually going to be Mihaela, because Mihaela has the, designation of the first PhD to ever be hired at Supreme Optimization. We've hired probably over 100 at this point, and she's still here. We have been very close. We call ourselves work besties. I call us that. I don't know if she does. At the paid ads team for my time there, and now Mihaela runs the paid ads team, and she does a lot more at Supreme Optimization. So Mihaela, I would love if you could give a quick little intro.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Mihaela. I am a former scientist or a recovering scientist, as Paul likes to say. So I did my PhD in human genetics at McGill University in identifying genes causing rare diseases. But after that, so now close to 8 years, I've actually been working in advertising at Supreme Optimization. So like Eric said, I was very first PhD, and it's been incredible to see how much we've grown and how much we're doing, and how much the space has also changed over all of these years, as probably a lot of the people listening recognize as well. So excited to be chatting today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mihaela. It was a great intro. And Paul, let's go to Paul next. Paul is another PhD, founder of Biostrata, now part of Supreme Group. Paul, I'd love to hear your own intro of yourself.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Yeah, my name's Paul. As Eric said, I was one of the co-founders of Biostrata, life science marketing agency that was based in the UK and is now part of Supreme Group since about 18 months ago. And now I'm lucky enough. I think lucky's the right word. That I get to work with Eric every day now as VP of Marketing in a new role within Supreme Group. I've got 15 years plus of life science marketing experience. I've worked with clients across a wide range of life science and healthcare verticals on fully integrated marketing programs. So every aspect of the marketing mix, really. And as Mihaela said, I'm one of our recovering scientists because I did a PhD in developmental biology here in Cambridge many, many moons ago.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you, Paul. It's been awesome working with you. And then Joachim, I'm so excited to have you here. You and I have known each other for 10 years. You were just starting La Biotech when we were starting Supreme Optimization. And so we both had parallel growth on different paths, but we've always, kept in touch. And I remember having Zoom calls with you and your business partner, Ann Sheldon, in the super early days of La Biotech and Supreme. So yeah, I would love a quick intro on you as well.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. I also don't have a PhD, so you're not alone, actually. I just have a master degree in biotechnology. But basically, I started labiotech.eu, news media website for biotechnology in Europe originally in 2014. That's, I think, at the time we get to know each other. I've been doing this for 10 years. And in parallel of this, also doing a lot with marketing in life sciences, also helping a lot of companies advertise on labiotech.eu, for instance, through different type of campaigns. So I've been in kind of both sides of media, but also a bit involved in marketing. And more recently, so like about 6 months ago, I joined a company called Biocom, which is doing also similar things. We have a few different platforms in the media industry. So one German publication, one European publication for biotech. And we also do a bit of services to life science companies as well. It's now called NoBio, so it's officially as well publication today of the new name because it's not published otherwise. But yeah, basically that's what I'm doing now.
Awesome, man. Well, it's great to hang out. I'm glad we finally got a collaboration on the books. And yeah, so as you guys can hear, it's decades of experience between the four of us. This is kind of all we've been doing is life science marketing for the majority of our career. And we just want to talk and share some knowledge that we have. There's no call to action here. We're not selling anything. We genuinely just love doing this. I mean, we had kind of like a brainstorming call, like just me, Paul, and Joachim, and we just talked life science marketing for like an hour. And we thought to ourselves, man, I wish we recorded this and actually did it live because, we just love doing it. And so we did sit down, all of us, and kind of put our heads together and say, like, hey, what are we hearing clients ask of us all the time? What are we seeing ourselves? What are we doing um, for our clients every single day, kind of in the trenches? And we kind of isolated that into 5 different categories. And so some of these may be surprising, some of them may not. So I'm going to try my best to keep it like 10 minutes for each one. And if there are some questions, we can kind of go through those at the end. But the 5 topics are basically going to be the necessity of Bing ads to reach scientists is going to be number one. Talking about thought leadership, it's pretty meta that we'd be talking about it since this is a form of thought leadership. And so just we're getting, man, I think I tracked 1 out of every 3 contact forms coming in through our Supreme Group portfolio was asking for thought leadership. And so just kind of talking through what that is and what that means and how we do it. Life science podcasting, another sort of meta here as well. All of this will be recorded and uploaded into the Supreme Group podcast, which is great. AI, of course, we can't do a podcast or any type of content without talking about AI. Hopefully there's not too much AI fatigue on this call because, obviously it's changing a lot. And then I think what we're hearing a lot is how much is AI, specifically ChatGPT and Gemini, actually changing bottom of funnel visibility. So how people are actually purchasing and searching. So these are the 5 topics. We are going to try and move it along. So if there's something you really want to hear, hopefully we get through all of it in the next hour. And so I'm actually going to kick it off, you guys. This one is mine. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you're probably actually sick of hearing me talk about Bing ads because I'm really passionate about it. And so this is my hot take that I wanted to start it off with. And if I were a life science company with a small budget for paid search, I would put it all on Bing ads. And here's why. So I ran a survey. I think we have about 70 PhDs at Supreme Optimization total. I lose track of the number, but I just surveyed a group of them within 24 hours. And I was just curious, what types of computers are they using? And most of the time, so we see 67% of the time, people are using university computers. Like they're given the computers to them. And sometimes people use their personal computers. And sometimes it's kind of like a hybrid. And so then I asked, what brand of computer was it? And I think there was only 1 or 2 people that said they were using a Mac. Like almost everybody is using a PC when they are in the lab. So, why does this matter? Long story short is when you have a PC and it's not your computer, oftentimes you're not even allowed to download external softwares or browsers or anything like that. And you have to use the default search engine. And so Microsoft Edge, the default for that is Bing. And so if you're not setting up Bing ads and you're a life science company, you're probably missing out on a huge portion of qualified buyers and purchase ready scientists. And the other thing about Bing, which if we just forgot about everything I just said, like let's just say that everybody used Mac in the lab and it didn't even matter. The clicks are 50% cheaper than Google. And I found personally that we get less spam. I personally run Bing ads for all of our portfolio brands at Supreme Group, and the clicks are 50% cheaper. That means the leads are 50% cheaper. I get less spam on Bing. We've had some incredible, incredible leads from Bing because even companies, when they're using, a lot of them are using Lenovo laptops, other PCs, and they have to use Microsoft Edge. And then the bonus is, and this is speculative, but the bonus is everybody's using ChatGPT. So this is sort of the percent of what people are using as their AI tool. And as you can see, overwhelmingly, it's OpenAI. Fun to see Gemini in there. So again, if you're doing Google ads and Bing ads, you're basically covered for what the most commonly used softwares are in the United States right now. And there's rumors that there will be an integration between Microsoft advertising and ChatGPT. And there's nothing concrete. They're working on the integration. So I think that a lot of questions we get a lot is, are there going to be ads in ChatGPT? How can we be ready for ChatGPT? So that's my rant on Bing ads. Like I said, people are probably sick of me talking about it. I think that every life science company should be set up on Bing, and most are not. And we do a lot of audits at Supreme Optimization where we will get access, get the keys to a life science company's Google Ads account. And when I audit it, one of the first things I say is, hey, can I get Bing as well? And 95% of the time, they don't have Bing set up. So I'm going to actually see, Mihaela, do you have any thoughts on this? Because you're in the weeds and you are actually working with a lot of these clients. I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are really sleeping on Microsoft and Bing ads. I agree that most of our clients that we have, I said, are probably not running Bing right now. Um, and interestingly, for the clients that are in 2025, Bing has performed better than it ever has in the past. And I don't know what it is about it exactly, but we've definitely seen lower cost per lead than we ever have, and we've seen a higher volume of leads than we ever had. Um, having said that, I track this, how much are people using Bing in general, and if you look at their like search market share, since since the launch of OpenAI and all of this AI stuff, they haven't, as a platform, they haven't gained more than, I think, about 1% or so in search market share. But you know, for certain segments, it's definitely critical. So the academic, if your primary audiences are academic, kind of what you said, research scientists in academia, if people in hospitals, it's anytime people are using devices, laptops that they can't change their browser. It's it's I wouldn't critical. It's critical that you're running Bing ads at least. I still don't like to say only. I say both. Like, do go Google and Microsoft. Just don't forget about Microsoft ads as well.
I've got a question about Halo, and I think we should resist the urge to promote Supreme Opti services here. But one of the things I've seen a lot when people try and get started with Google Ads and they don't really know how it works is they make a load of mistakes, burn a load of cash, and don't get any leads, right? So
Mm.
if a company is listening, a marketer's on here and they're like, okay, we should definitely give Bing ads a try. What's the easiest way to get started with that? Is it especially easy if you're already running Google Ads? Can you like port your campaigns over or use the same logic? Do the platforms work the same? Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
That's a great point. That's a great point, Paul. Actually, so the same things that we always say for Google Ads, and I don't want to plug Supreme Optimization here right now, but you have to have your search campaign set up well, because one of the things is the Microsoft Ads platform isn't as good as the Google Ads platform. So digital marketing, ads, all of this stuff is changing all the time. You're getting new campaign types. There's a lot of automation that's added to the platforms. Um, all of this stuff, Microsoft will typically launch pretty much at the same time whatever Google is launching, just for that ease, because the idea is that you can always just take your campaigns from Google that are working well and port them into Microsoft Ads. But their algorithm isn't as good. So, and also when you're running your campaigns in Google, you're going to have, because there's just more volume of everything, you're going to have better data, and that algorithm on its own, just because it has more data, is going to be better. But also Google is just better at all of this. So then, yes, you can port your campaigns into Microsoft, but all of that, you still have to be optimizing in there. And I would say if you're launching that campaign starting in Microsoft, it's even more critical that the keywords that you're selecting are really good, tight, long tail, high intent, bottom of the funnel type keywords, because the algorithm isn't as good at getting you users who are more likely to convert. So it can be easier to waste money or not see results and then like just discount it as, oh, this isn't working for me.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's what my gut said, but it's helpful to hear someone who's in the platforms playing with it is actually seeing those things as well.
Yeah, Mihaela, on that note, I feel like we could do an entire episode on how annoying exact matches with Google ads. I feel like it used to be you tell Google exactly what you want, say I want it exactly, and now exact match has just turned into broad match. And so it sounds like that problem is even worse on Bing than it is on Google. And yeah, I'm honestly in awe sometimes at how, like, the reason why I'm in awe is because for the last, I would say, 6 years, everyone's been saying that AI is going to take our jobs. Like, I go to these PPC conferences and it's like, with smart bidding strategies and target CPA and all this stuff, they're not gonna have an agency anymore. Like, why do we need an agency? And I go in and I put a very specific exact match keyword of what I want, and it's nowhere near that when I go on the platform. Like, it's so bad sometimes. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? And are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, so I mean, the for those of old school, those of us who are old school who have been working in this for a long time, started with those manual bids, exact keywords, right? All the control that we had. I'd say, what so there is no exact match the way it used to be. Exact now is basically old phrase, and old phrase is now broad. Broad is almost like a free for all. You're entirely dependent on the algorithm. So you still have to, like, let's say if you're just starting out your account, you still have to start it exact or phrase, but you're not going to get the control that you used to have anywhere, like anywhere near that. But training the algorithm is key. And so, like, whenever you're starting out, you really like keyword selection, setting up tracking is it's more critical than ever. I think for all life science company, all of that, streamlining all of their backend data, conversion tracking, CRM integrations, all of that is more critical than ever because that's really what's used to power the algorithm and get you better results. There's still a lot that we do in the platform. And yeah, like I remember when I was like, I don't know, maybe year two in this, and I like switched my career towards advertising. And I was saying to Eric, I was like, oh my God, this is all gonna go away. Like our jobs are gonna go away. There's so much automation that was even happening in the back end at that point. And here we are, like, it's like 6 years later from that, and it's just more complex than ever. And I know I'm biased, but I really think like our job is actually more important than ever to just exclude the like 98% of the noise that exists in these platforms.
Yeah, that's a
If I
great
if I
point.
can add, you can add some figures to all this. I've been consulting a bit last year with a few clients on Google Ads as well. And the first thing I think I did is remove all the AI automation because you don't have control at all. Like and that was one of their issue. Like they were just using the kind of AI assisted campaigns, so just going in there and letting Google do the work for them. But when I audited the account, like it was just bad keywords, like especially like the name of the company. I will not say it, but it's a word that means something in the day-to-day language. So they were getting a ton of unrelated searches because of this. They didn't see basically what was happening. So we just removed all the automation and made kind of a campaign as manual as possible, and then we saw immediately like the conversion were going up. So I would say like we need humans, maybe even more than in the past, because we need someone to understand, especially in life sciences, to understand what the company wants to achieve, and then yeah, to set it up for them basically.
I really like that because if you think about what Google wants to achieve, it's to tap into as much of your marketing budget as possible. It knows
Oh
it needs
yeah.
to get you results to do that, right? But that's what they're incentivized to do. And ultimately, if the AI algorithms are going to be able to optimize and improve your campaigns, they need data. So they need to run for a while because we're so niche And a lot of the clients and a lot of the companies in this industry are so niche. It's not like Google necessarily has a huge amount of data about what it takes to reach an audience for a very specific antibody for a very specific application, right? It probably doesn't know. So it has to get that data somehow. And if everything's on auto, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mihaela, but if everything's on auto, it's just spending a load of your money to try and learn what works. Whereas the human who works in the industry already knows that stuff and could just do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is exactly what we're battling all the time is because we always have to remember that these platforms, the majority of their money, what they're designed for is direct to consumer products, which the the amount of search volume, the amount of leads, conversions, revenue that comes in the life sciences is like 100 times smaller. So our focus is always like narrow niche traffic, really targeted, specific before we can even think about scaling it further. And the platforms just tend to be too broad, not specific enough at being able to do it well on their own.
Yeah, I think man, this is making me want to do a hour-long talk on just life science Google ads because there's so many things I want to say right now, but we can't
There's
because
so much, so
we have
much.
4 other bullets to get to, unfortunately, or fortunately, because there's a lot in here. And so I think I do want to move on to thought leadership because, like I said, I think about a third of people who reach out to work with us are mentioning thought leadership in just in the last like Q4, I would say. Um, and I think part of it is the rise of video and the rise of AI and thought leadership is it means different things to different people too. If you talk like old school PR and comms, it means something than people who are more like sort of grew up in digital, you know? And so I actually want to kick it over to Joachim because Joachim, I would consider you to be one of the foremost experts in life science marketing. I mean, you're a thought leader yourself. You have a newsletter called the Science Marketer, which is great. I recommend. We don't have to. We can plug the Science Marketer in here, right? Like we can sell that. We're not selling Supreme, but we can sell Joachim. He's a guest, so it's a little different. So, Joachim, what do you think it takes to do thought leadership in a meaningful way for life science companies in 2026?
Yeah, I think most important is the consistency first. And I've seen it also myself, but with some clients with whom I'm working. If you're not consistent in your publishing, then it goes nowhere. Basically, you cannot create an audience. And it's something I repeat almost in every post I write, also for my newsletter, in every podcast episode I do, because people think it's or maybe underestimate how hard it is to keep consistent with content. And for me, the secret is really to define from the beginning the resources you can put in thought leadership and not be unrealistic. So if it's like one article per month, then you stick to it as long as you can. If it's one LinkedIn post per week, then that's also a good goal, right? So I think it's first like define what you want to do and find a process to make it happen. And if you can't do it yourself, like maybe work with someone external as well. So this can help a lot to can kind of stick to it. You have to put a bit of budget, of course, but if you have kind of a partner to help you publish regularly your thought leadership, like an agency or freelance or something like this, I think it helps a lot the companies, especially in B2B. And then, of course, like also, I think we will talk about it again after, but with AI, it's becoming easier to produce, but it doesn't mean it's better, right? Like we see a lot of bad quality AI content, especially on LinkedIn, I think. So that's where we have to be also like maybe a bit careful, or like companies have to be careful not to go too fast without understanding exactly what they are writing about or the style they're using, because it's actually the AI with doing their style and their voice. So I would say also like, of course, experiment with AI tools, but if you're not comfortable with writing from the beginning, maybe ask someone to help you with kind of the creation of the content. and someone who has an eye for the style, for maybe like recognizing what sounds like AI generated slop. Yeah, maybe going in more quality focused content. And I can give you just an example to finish, to make it more concrete. I'm working with some companies as well, or we are working with some companies where we produce, for instance, blog posts for them, or LinkedIn content for them. And very often it's directly in collaboration with the CEO, and they don't have time, like, like the CEO of mid-sized biotech companies, they don't have time to sit down and spend 8 hours writing a blog post. But you can actually get a lot of value from just one call every 2 weeks from them. Basically, like we sit down, maybe 1 hour, we talk like really openly about the business, about the new ideas they have, about the science, these kind of things. And this is basically what's going into the thought leadership content. And they don't need to put too much effort in it. Like, as I said, like maybe 1 hour, or 1 hour, 30 minutes per week. And then as an agency, then we create the content based on their own insight. So that's also a tip, like for companies who are looking to do more of this content. There are shortcuts you can use with external help to make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think just to kind of piggyback on what you said, and what I think about this is, yeah, if you can get in 2 hours, 1 hour a month of the CEO and just do an interview style thing, you can use AI to summarize, say, hey, like, what are like 4 really good posts from here? And I do agree with you that frequency is really important. So if you can post weekly or once every other week, what I would recommend doing, and we do this ourselves here, is you have a lot of posts going out. The ones that perform well organically, you actually start running paid advertising to, because LinkedIn has a thought leadership ad. And I think probably at this point, some people know this, but, or probably a lot of people know this, but you take an ad that's done really well organically. Okay, this is really resonating. You go into the ad platform, you find your perfect audience. And I mean, Mihaela, you could probably talk to this a little more than I can, but in the targeting LinkedIn for science is incredible for life science, because scientists will upload the skills into their LinkedIn bios. So you can target DNA extraction, you can target CRISPR, you can target PCR, like you can target all of these different things. And so if you have something that's really specific, thought leadership, you can boost it on LinkedIn after you have kind of proof of concept. So, yeah, I think thought leadership is going to be epic in 2026, and it's going to be an essential part of marketing strategy for life science companies.
And it's not very expensive. I just want to confirm what you said. Like we have done it as well with some of the posts, and it's not so expensive. Like sometimes we just put, I don't know, 50, 60 euros behind the post, and it doubles the exposure, which was already high. So like reaching, I don't know, 100, 200,000 impressions. So yeah, like it's a very good tactic as well.
But I think this is really interesting because you mentioned at the beginning, Eric, that we're about a third of our form fills asked for thought leadership. And that kind of actually makes me a bit nervous, because people mean different things when they say thought leadership. And I think for our team then to understand what it is they're trying to achieve versus the different things we might do, there's a gap to cross. And you've both spoken on a number of things, but very eloquently about using LinkedIn, perhaps even more so as a personal thought leader rather than a brand, and then using advertising to promote it. But a lot of people who might be thinking about thought leadership might be thinking the writing of white papers, commissioning their own primary research reports to understand the market, creating a podcast. For some people, it's like we just need to post more on LinkedIn. I wouldn't say that is thought leadership necessarily, but that's sort of things that we have heard in the past. So what is modern thought leadership in today? We spoke, Joachim, off the call about Substack and the rise of newsletters. Your growing newsletters are doing very, very well as an individual. Those things, people weren't doing that so much like 18 months ago. We've got CEO ambassadors that have 50,000 followers when the company page has only got 5,000. Like, yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Joachim?
Yeah, so for me, it's a really good point. Like I think thought leadership has to be tied to a person in this context. You can call it what you want, but for me, that's the definition. And then content marketing is maybe more for like pure company assets like white papers and stuff like that. That's how I differentiate it. But yes, like you mentioned newsletters, I think that's also like tools that are now available, like Substack, Beehive, or even a LinkedIn newsletter. What you can also do now. You just need 10 minutes, and you can start having basically a place where you put your thoughts. And the tools are there, super easy to use. I think the most difficult is maybe like finding the audience, right? Like, because when you start writing, you should not expect crazy amount of people looking at your content. That's also something I've seen happen quite a lot. Like just someone with well intention and start writing 1-2 pieces and then just abandon because there are 10 people reading it. So I think people have to be a bit stubborn and keep going with content and use those platforms. So like a newsletter could be a very good channel if you have something to say. Like I think like if you go in Substack and you look at some of the biggest newsletters on Substack, very often what they share is very specific or very expert, and it's something you don't get somewhere else. So I see that, for instance, like a lot of financial analysts are using Substack now and have very big audience because they know, for instance, I don't know, like two, three public companies, they know everything about it and they share like kind of unique content about it. So I think it's something I would do or suggest to do similarly in biotech. If a CEO is, I don't know, interested in going in this alley, is to be very expert about your writing. And again, that's maybe also like contrasting with what people think AI can achieve, because you can ask the AI to write a post. Yes, it will do it. But at the end of the day, like the really good content we have now today comes from humans and their own experience. So that's where I think there is also like we have to put again the human first for content, instead of thinking, okay, like just let's put a prompt in the area and it will give me something of quality. I don't think it works for this purpose now.
For sure.
Yeah.
I wish we could bold audio. When you said you have something to say, I'm like, please, how do we bold that? Like, thought leadership is not saying something, it's having something to say, right? And this, I think, is a key distinction that most people don't get. Sorry, Mihaela, I cut you off there.
Oh, no, all good. I was just going to say authenticity is really key in
Yeah.
the age of AI. And for us, in being in a niche industry, it's always that quality beats quantity in everything that we do, basically. I also just wanted to add that I love that companies are thinking more about thought leadership. I love that this is trending. I would say like maybe a year and a half or two ago, we started seeing this trend that companies were cutting any channels, any strategies that where they couldn't see clear attribution in their CRM to revenue. And things like thought leadership, organic postings, that's all more upper funnel, and you don't necessarily see that in your CRM that, a lead came from that. But it's so critical. It's so important when you're looking at all of your marketing and the activities that you're doing. And I know that because we do a lot of thought leadership, Eric has always been working on this very hard. I can't say like the number of times we have when I talk to clients, they'll mention a post that we made. They'll mention an email. They'll mention someone who was highlighted, what they said. But these things you're not going to find them in your CRM, but they're so critical to your, overall marketing that you're doing. So
I
Yeah, we
love
need to
that.
bold that as well. Bold.
I know. When I first wrote my Bing post, I had multiple people on the paid search team message me and say like, "Hey, I have like all these clients who are interested in Bing now." And yeah, it's hard to measure because when you look in our CRM, social media is one of our lowest traffic sources because they usually see us there and then it's sort of a nurture process. I also think there's a benefit to existing customers. Like imagine a customer that you've been working with for a long time and they say, wow, I sleep well at night because I have the people who are actually doing thought leadership, defining what we should be doing. And I'm reminded of that every day on LinkedIn, who are doing my work. I get to work with that company or that group. And so, yeah, I'm super, super big on it. I actually used to be uh, a little bit of like a hater when it came to top of funnel stuff. Cause I'm like, oh, the ROI on Google is so strong. Like I can, you give me $1, I'll make you $3. Like, come on, like, don't do that LinkedIn stuff. And now we actually, for the first time ever at Supreme Optimization, we moved more budget into LinkedIn than Google Ads, which is crazy. So 2026 is going to be the first year we spend more on LinkedIn than we do on paid search, Google and Bing combined, which is crazy because when we first started, it was 10x difference. So there's a little fun fact for everybody. And in the spirit of time, I think we're doing pretty good overall. But I also think that this is sort of tangentially related, but talking about life science podcasting. And I really want to hear from you first, Paul, because you're probably the most experienced podcaster here. And with Biostrata, you had a podcast. With Supreme Group, you and I co-host a ton of stuff on the Supreme Pod. And I know you have sort of like I don't know if a hobbyist is a fair way to put it, but you're super interested in AI, so you also have an AI podcast. And so, you know, you've done it for such a long period of time. Like you keep doing it. You're on podcast 3 right now. Why do you find it so valuable? I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. So, one, why do you find it so valuable? Because unless you're insane, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But I don't think that you're insane. So, why do you find it valuable? You keep doing it. What do you think it takes to do it right? And why do you think it'll be more prevalent in 2026, and why? So, I know that was a lot, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
I guess the first thing is I do it because I love it. That's
Mm,
probably I
fair.
hadn't thought about it, but I think that's probably a component to making it successful. Like if it's like dragging your face over sandpaper trying to do a podcast, then you're not going to stick with it and you're not going to be successful, right? But
Love that
I kind
visual.
of enjoy it. Um, but I think it's underestimated in the life sciences and probably a lot of sectors, mostly because it's hard to tie ROI to it. Mihaela just summarized this better than I ever could. And I think that's what stops people investing in it. But to try and give you a feel for the commercial reason that I love podcasting, maybe I'll just tell a little story. So I was on, as Eric mentioned, we had a podcast at Biostrata where we'd interview seasoned veterans of life science marketing. In most cases, people have got 15, 20 years of experience, trying to draw out from them the unique insights that you can only get when you've been doing something for a long time. You're not going to find this information in a textbook. ChatGPT doesn't know it. You're probably not going to find it on any blog posts either, right? Those were the nuggets that we were trying to draw from that and then share it with our audience under belief that that would be valuable. So, we stuck at it for quite a while, and then something kind of interesting started happening. I was on some sales calls, and I was on this call with someone, and I was having a chat with them, and they were speaking to me like they really knew me. And so, like halfway through the call, I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like, did we meet at a show or something? Because I feel like we've met, but I can't remember where." And then the person said to me, "Oh no, I'm actually really new to the life science sector. I did marketing in a different sector and I came into the life sciences, but I found your podcast and I listened to it to get up to speed on marketing in the sector." So when we're having conversations, she'd be mentioning like things that we've said in our content and stuff like that. And I think what it does is it gives you that like pre-trust, right? Like it collapses that distance between me as a stranger and me as a credible person that can actually help them. And that happened numerous times in different ways. And, to Mihaela's point, it doesn't make it into the CRM notes that's how, how we won this client. And there'll be a bunch of people who read your posts or listen to your podcast who never mention it and it never comes out. But they were influenced by it. And then there was another time where I got tagged on a post on LinkedIn by someone I didn't know. So I thought, I wonder what that is. So I went and had a look. And somebody was promoting our podcast for us, which I've never had happen before. Just like highlighting. And it wasn't one of those where someone highlights like, here's 50 podcasts I listen to. You should go listen to them all. It was just about our podcast. So I sent this person a message. I said, "Oh, thanks so much. I'm so glad that you love the podcast. I really appreciate the fact that you've shared it on your LinkedIn profile." And we started up a bit of a conversation on LinkedIn. And it turns out that they use that podcast as onboarding for all of the sales and marketing people that join the business, right? They have to listen to all the episodes. And because we were getting acquired, and we had to focus our time somewhere else for a bit. We actually had to stop the podcast for a while. And he was like, dude, you've only done 12 episodes. We need more episodes. So I thought, oh, I'll see what I can do. But like, I just remember when I was having that conversation, like, you cannot buy that type of interaction. You cannot get that type of buy-in by purchasing it. You have to produce something that you believe is going to be valuable, really mine for the unique value, and then give it to people. And the great thing about podcasts, right, is I don't know if this is like if you guys experience this, but for me, when I'm listening to a podcast on a dog walker at the gym, I kind of feel like I'm with the people that are having the conversation, like weirdly. Like I know I'm not in it, but it's not like, like a corporate video that's very scripted. It's not the same experience as an audio book because you're hearing people have a conversation. And I feel like I naturally just start to build a relationship with those people. And I hear myself talk about some of the podcasts I'm on. And we had this Mihaela in our warm-up call when we were talking about the All In podcast. You mentioned the moderator, and I was like, yeah, JK, yeah. Like we know those people. I don't know those people at all. But I think that's the type of relationship you can start to build with podcasts. And if there's another medium where you can do that, then I don't know what it is.
So it's so funny because the same things happen to me with my podcast, The Science Marketer. Exactly what you said. Like I have people sometimes I don't know. I go on a call and they already know me. Exactly the same. It's and I think it's called parasocial effect or something like this. What you just said, like you have the impression you're with them, but they don't know you, and you feel you know them. So I confirm what you said 100%. I experienced exactly the same. And the same thing with the onboarding. I have, for instance, a big VC firm in Europe is sharing my podcast with every startup founder they finance and give it as onboarding, like the same kind of thing for their kind of marketing education. So yeah, totally agree. And maybe something for you also, like, what do you think of YouTube? Because we are seeing a lot of podcasting moving now to YouTube. Because the algorithm is so good to kind of recommend podcasts more than like traditional podcast platforms. My podcast is on YouTube as well, and I'm seeing quite good traction there. I think a lot more people discover it through YouTube instead of the traditional podcast channels where it's more like my existing audience who goes there. So what about your experience? Like, have you been doing a bit of YouTube with your own podcast?
Yeah, we're on YouTube. I know, Paul, you were even putting together some reels and stuff like that for YouTube. So, I mean, I think such a good point. I think especially in the life sciences, it's so niche and nobody else is doing it. And so if you're one of the only people who's actually making video podcasting
Yeah.
content for a really specific sector, I mean, there is no competition for the long tail searches for a lot of these super long tail biotech, life science related keywords on YouTube. You're the only one. And what I think is even more important, and people, next time you guys search for something and the AI overview comes up on Google, look at what the source is. I would say for me, 80% of the time, it's YouTube is the source, which is crazy. But here's the reason why. In the age of AI, I can generate 10,000 words in 10 seconds. I can create as much written content as I want on my website. And so Google, who's ahead of the curve, says, we can't trust words anymore because we know that this can be generated in seconds, but they can trust people, particularly people that have big followings, people that Google owns YouTube. And so if they see, oh, this video has been very helpful for people, people watch it for a long period of time, people reshare it. The social signals are now coming from YouTube, which is crazy. And so for us, it's actually a part of your GEO and SEO strategy to take your content from your podcast and put it onto YouTube, because that is where the AI overviews are going to come from. And we're going to talk a little bit about this in point 5, where we talk about sort of competing for bottom of funnel visibility. So for me, I actually internally, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. I internally call our podcast a not cast, because when people think podcast, they go, well, Eric, no one's going to be driving on their way to work and listening to 5 lessons on life science marketing. That's not the point. Because here's what the podcast gives us. It gives us reels to use for LinkedIn. It gives us posts that we can use for LinkedIn via thought leadership. It gives us content for YouTube that we can now rank organically via GEO. And so when people think podcast, they think like, oh, they're going to go on Spotify and listen to the whole thing. I don't think of that at all. I think of it as a content production engine, and the sort of origin of it is the podcast, or notcast, as I call it. So
I love the fact that you said that, Eric. I've been at shows and people are like, "Oh yeah, I love the podcast," and I'm like, "Oh, what episodes did you like the most?" And they're like, "Oh no, I mean, I watched the videos on LinkedIn. They're like the 1 minute reel versions, right?" Because
yeah,
that's how people take a lot of their content, and there's kind of that assumption that probably the best 6 minutes of that podcast has been distilled into like these 6 real videos. But on the YouTube front, Joachim, great question. Little secret hack. I don't know if it works as well now as it used to, but when YouTube was trying to get everybody to move more to YouTube last year, when we would create, so this is for my other podcast, the Artificially Intelligent Marketing podcast, we'd create those little reels that Eric's mentioning and we'd upload them as YouTube shorts. And even though the
Yeah.
podcast episodes themselves might get like 50 views, some of the reels we'd get like 20,000 views because YouTube was just basically trying to incentivize people to use the YouTube Shorts platform and pushing content out. So I don't know if you can still get that type of penetration, but I think there's 2 lessons there. The first one is YouTube wants our content and they will incentivize us in different ways to put it there. And that's probably why everyone's migrating. And secondly, as we see the platform shift, always be looking for what is that cool new thing that LinkedIn or YouTube or other platforms are trying to promote, because they're probably going to give you an incentive to use it, like more reach. Maybe using things like LinkedIn Live will give you more reach, right? So I think there's so many interesting lessons to be learned from something like that.
yeah. I love that, Paul. I love new stuff. I'm sure Mihaela's smiling because we're thinking about Performance Max and all the stuff that Google would give you in the beginning. Like Performance Max, when they first rolled it out, the clicks were like 6 cents because there's like no one's using it, but they needed data. So if you got rewarded for being a guinea pig, I actually thought about what if we just did a never ending LinkedIn Live event and I just like kept bringing on, like I just did 365 days of LinkedIn Live and and it's like, they're going to reward you. You're always going to be top of mind. You get like a permanent billboard in Times Square of life science marketing of LinkedIn, you know?
The LinkedIn Truman Show. I love it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Be kind of weird, but uh not opposed. Not opposed. Whatever it takes, Paul. Whatever it takes. Um did anybody, Mihaela, did you want to say something before we move on to AI stuff? Because I do want to keep things moving.
Just that's like the ultimate hot tip, I think, for any platform. When you see them rolling out something, they're going to make the data probably look good in the beginning. Yeah, that happened with PMax, and it was like, oh my God, these are amazing. And then it kind of dropped off, but they're amazing again. And that's the genius of Google, right? Is that they got everyone to use it, they got the data, and then they fixed the issues that they had with it. And now it's good. Now it's great.
Yeah. That is interesting. That was so when Mihaela says P Max, it means Performance Max. It's one of the campaign options that you can choose when you're setting up in Google. And it's kind of like the default at this point. But that arc you said was perfect. It was like it started off amazing because the clicks were like 5 cents. And then they were like, oh, maybe we should start charging for this because people want to use it, but it wasn't very good. And so then it was like we didn't touch PMax for like a year. And now we use it all the time. And so that is sort of the arc of this new stuff. So yes, bonus lesson 6 is if there's anything new in the platforms, like go out and test. Um, I think we're doing pretty good on time. So I do want to move on to AI. And this one we just sort of labeled broadly AI without the hype, because I feel like there's a lot of hype around AI in terms of like it changing everything. And so the real question is like, what are we actually using it for? How is it actually useful? And Mihaela, I actually want to start with you because I know that you have had quite a bit of success with, streamlining some of the advertising work that we do. And yeah, I'm just curious what your experience has been. Like, what are clients asking for in terms of like AI in general? And then like, how have you personally kind of been using it within a department or whatever your thoughts are?
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start with AI because there's just so much that we can talk about and so many things that it's influenced. So from basically how we're using it within platforms for ads, and also how we're using it in our day to day for our team to make them more efficient, to do things faster at a higher quality. I'll say one of the things that clients are often interested in learning about, and a lot of the platforms, let's say Facebook, said they're going to automate everything, and you'll just be able to use AI to launch ads. I will say, kind of similar to what we've been talking about before, it hasn't really been true. We still need humans to create the ads. AI is just making us faster. There's a lot of AI within platforms, a lot of automations. You can make automated videos and images and write ad copy faster. But if you're just using um, like all of the platforms to do it, it's going to have that like AI feel. You can run into issues of AI slop. So at the end of the day, that actually hasn't changed all that much. We do use AI to support our ad copywriting for sure, but we can't just launch it. It still has to be one of our PhDs that's checking for scientific accuracies, checking that it makes sense, things like that. At Supreme, we're obviously super AI forward. We have an internal platform that we work with a lot as well. But I'd say the biggest wins that we've had with AI has been just improving our processes and making us like able to do things faster, improve the quality of the work that we do, and do it better. And yeah.
I know Paul, Joachim, I know one of you got something to say about AI.
Yeah, I think I already said it. Like for content production, you have to like. I think AI can accelerate and improve your work if you already have the basis without the AI. Like if you already basically know like how to structure a narrative and how to have a kind of a voice that sounds like you and not just a robot. So I think that's what I see the most. Like a lot of people using AI to get things done, like more on the content side, but then it ends up just sounding like AI.
So you're saying remove the double dashes before you post on LinkedIn, and preferably don't do the thing where it's like, it's not about X, it's about Y. Like every time I see that on LinkedIn, I'm like, man, do you not know that I know?
And that's also frustrating because personally, before ChatGPT and everything, I love to use M dashes. I think in terms of style, it's very helpful to get more information across. But I cannot anymore because if you put an M dash somewhere, it's it just looks like it's generated by
I
ChatGPT.
know.
It was a mark of a craftsperson, someone who had been trained in really the best practice grammar. Unfortunately, ChatGPT was then trained in the best practice grammar and then over-indexed. But I think you're absolutely right. I think I wrote a post on LinkedIn that got some traction about how AI can write beautiful sounding sentences that mean nothing. I have two custom GPTs that absolutely get hammered in my role. One does first drafts, the other is a world-class editor. And the instructions for the editor are 3 times longer. That is like 50 bullet points or something mad than it is for the writer. And it absolutely tears its own writing apart because it's full of junk on a first draft. Like if you really read some of the stuff that comes out, especially long form, like if you're trying to create blog posts, white papers, what have you, it will make statements that are so plausible sounding. And then you really think about what it's saying and you're like, that's wrong or that doesn't make sense. And we work in an industry where the vast majority of the people we target have been trained to critically assess everything they see and think about. Like, is there a more dangerous industry to entrust your content marketing program to ChatGPT? I doubt it. Right.
That's so true.
And that is why these things are so dangerous. And I actually am even more worried about companies. I could see the temptation if you're a small or mid-sized company to hire maybe a junior and give them ChatGPT and say, right, cool, don't worry, you've got all the world's knowledge in here. Go run our marketing and do it at scale because ChatGPT can do all the output. But one of the issues you've got then is all of us, we don't know what we don't know. And if you're early in your career, there's a lot of things that you probably don't know that you don't know. And if you need to assess the outputs of AI from that vantage point, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. And that's the thing that keeps me up at night, even about when I'm using AI, and I've been doing this a while, but there's a lot of things I don't know that I don't know. And I think anybody who doesn't have that sort of fear and humility when they're using AI to help fuel their marketing efforts, you should really have it, because we should all be a bit afraid.
That's a really good point. Like Microsoft is doing research on this, on like the effects of using AI on your brain. And one thing they published, I think last year, was showing that it's like reconnecting your creativity, basically. The more you use AI, the more it's kind of reconnecting the neurons used for creativity. And what's appearing in their result is that you have different level of creativity. Like you have kind of very high creativity, like more big picture, and very low creativity, like typically writing maybe I don't know, a poem needs a lot of very low creativity for like every word has to be thought separately. And the research was showing like for like using AI, basically like rewire your brain to focus more on the big picture creativity. And that's good if you're already an expert. But if you're a junior, as you said, basically like you're missing out all of the bottom creativity you don't have, and you cannot build it up because you're not training for this. And basically you're just focusing on things you cannot really control, or you don't have the expertise to understand what you're doing. So just confirming like this can be dangerous in the future, also for future generations working with creative work, basically. Yeah.
And for us as an agency, one of the things that was always true before even AI is when companies would come in, we'd see like their existing ad copy that someone on the team written, or they had a generalist agency writing it. And then we as scientists would just see the inaccuracy, or like, well, this doesn't sound right, or this isn't the typical term we would use for this, or it kind of sounds right, but it isn't really it. And so, we would fix all of that. And I'd say like AI basically just amplifies all of this. It doesn't improve your accuracy. It improves it sounding better. But, when you're marketing to scientists who live this life, work with these things every single day, they're going to spot it immediately if it's not right. So I think AI, ChatGPT, it's like an amplifier of everything. If you know what you're talking about, if you're, an expert in something, it can amplify that voice. It can make you sound a lot better. It can, bring you to wider audiences. But if you don't really know, it's not going to make you an expert. It'll just amplify your, like, I don't know, lack of knowledge. If that's not good to say.
Good conclusion.
Yeah, completely agree with all that. Well, I think we are rounding out our number 5. We're making great time, guys. I'm proud of us. It's hard to, like I said, we could probably talk for an hour about a lot of these. So we've been doing great. So I'm actually gonna share screen one more time if it lets me. Here we go. Going back to the data. Okay. So our last point here is the battle for bottom of funnel visibility. And a lot of people ask us, how am I making sure that I'm ranking for GEO or AEO, SEO? Bottom of funnel visibility is what people want, because that's where you get your customers after they've already been nurtured, or they just find you organically. And so what we're actually looking at here, I find really interesting. This is the people that have come through Supreme optimization. I believe this is like in a quarter or something like that. And I bet people might also be wondering like why I have direct and SEO combined into one bucket, because to me, there's no such thing as direct. I think that SEO is really, really bad with tagging UTM parameters. And so oftentimes when it's direct, it's usually a variety of things. But SEO is sort of how I attribute that. But lots of people have different opinions on it. But one thing that's really interesting is AI search. We have 16. 16 leads. So, it's about like 12% of our overall leads are coming through ChatGPT or Perplexity. And, SEO and paid search have always been one and two for a long time. But number three used to be paid social. And over the last, I would say 6 months or whatever, AI is starting to come out more and more. Now, that might be specific to us because people might search something like, hey, what's a really good life science marketing agency? What's a good life science web development agency? And so we might be a little, it might be different because I know you and Mihaela, you and I talked about this and you were like, it's not really been my experience with clients actually. So this is just one data point, but I would love to hear from you, Mihaela, because I know you sort of had like a contrarian viewpoint to this. So
Yeah, so just to any of our clients watching, I saw this graph from Eric. I was like, oh, it's making me nervous. That's not typically what we see from our clients. They're going to come back to us after seeing this, be like, why am I not getting a huge percentage of my leads from AI? So just to point out, this is CRM data. Eric and Paul have also been working super hard on all of our SEO, geo, all of that stuff. So that's partially reflected in here. But just from like a general client perspective and typically what we see, we're most often looking at GA4 data. So just to mention that as well. Typically when we look at it, um, SEO, paid search are still kind of the biggest drivers of traffic and performance. The traffic coming from ChatGPT and other AI searches tends to be much, much smaller. So in the very low or even below 1% range. And same with like any revenue, e-commerce revenue being attributed to them is lower. I will say, because I did go and take like just a random sample of our clients just to check in on this. I was like, maybe my data, I'm late. I haven't been keeping up. Just want to make sure, like, what does it look like for our clients? Um, one thing that I noticed, so for our clients who have had a long history of working with us on their SEO, have had a much bigger focus on their SEO over the years, tend to have a higher percentage of their traffic coming from AI searches than those that maybe don't. They don't have great websites. They don't have much data on there. It's not SEO optimized. So that's something that I think is important to highlight because a lot of those things that those base principles that go into how do you make your how do you increase your SEO rankings also apply for showing up in like ChatGPT and any of the AI searches.
Yeah, I have an unpopular opinion about this. I think the whole GEO is a scam. Like, yeah.
Yes, we're at the end of this, or all the truth is coming out.
No, but
we
seriously,
got to
like,
make a reel on that, Joaquin. Just that's going to be like the hook. GEO is a scam. I bet that would perform really well.
Yeah,
That was
clickbait.
awesome.
But now he's going to tell us
Clickbait.
why. He means it.
For all
Yeah, no,
those like posts, like make sure you watch till the end. This is true.
yeah, that's to keep the audience online. But no, like seriously, if you have been doing SEO all those years with a bit of effort, basically, as you said, Mihaela, like you end up in the generative search results as well, because they are using the same kind of indexing. They are using, I guess, I don't know, like ChatGPT is maybe even like using Google results for their top searches. I'm quite sure of it. So basically, if you have been doing SEO and you have been spending time on trying to rank for your long tail keywords, you will certainly end up in the response of the LLMs when when someone asks about the same topic. So for me, it's more like this is the hype. Like the whole SEO industry is shifting towards GEO, so they have something basically to sell again because they are saying, okay, like what do we do next? But the same good practices are necessary, in my opinion, as before. Yeah.
And one thing I also wanted to add to that, because it's something that clients ask us a lot, is like, oh, has paid search performance decreased because of the AI overviews or because of the number of people who are searching within ChatGPT and maybe aren't necessarily searching on Google? So I think overall trends, it doesn't look like Google search is going down. Actually, we are just searching more and everywhere. And so I think what happens in that user journey, because this is also what I do a lot of the time, is you have that conversation in ChatGPT to figure out maybe what products you're looking at, what's the best one, what are their attributes, things like that. And when you kind of are closer to working out what you're looking for, you're still going to go into Google to search for it. You're going to go into Edge, whatever browser you're using, to look up that product, get to the website. And so we definitely have not seen, if anything, like paid search performance has only increased in 2025. Obviously, something that we were looking at very closely because we're concerned, is that going to have a change? But we really have not seen it at all.
I love that because that's how this section gets its name, right? Which is when how people start searching for information changes, how can you be there at the point of purchase? And if I'm hearing you correctly, Mihaela, what you're saying is when people are looking to buy, they still Google products and then they click on links to go buy products. So if we're moving to a world where when people are in learning and education mode, they're gathering lots of information, they might read generative responses from at the top of Google, or they may ask ChatGPT and they gather all that information, but you need to win when they start searching for product types and product names. And the best way to win when people are doing that is Google search ads, right? That's why you can still have such big impact with those. So what is everybody's opinions then on how to manage this? You know, especially in a world where 10 years ago we were all told by HubSpot, write loads of blog posts, educate your customers, go after the long tail, get trust by being found in search and then sell something later. But you're not going to get found so easily in search anymore for educational queries. You're not going to get that website traffic. How are we going to deal with this?
Well, I don't know. To me, like the base principles of, what you had to do when it was that thinking are still the same of what you have to do to show up in ChatGPT, right? Because if you were following that, if you were writing a lot of educational content, if you have those blog posts, you're going to be more likely to show up in ChatGPT. So I'd say it's just changing like where you're showing up, but the base principles of like high quality content, having a lot of it on your website, having clear messaging, your value propositions, thought leadership, all if you've invested in that, you're going to be well positioned for this age of AI because it's using all of that.
It's making me think of a recent example with one of our clients. We've been producing a monthly blog post, and they are in a very specific area of life sciences, like very, very technical. And the blog posts, most of them are technical as well. And one recent example, like we had the intuition this one would rank for AI search. And it took 6 months. But what we started saying is the post was ranking for the keywords on SEO and on AI search at the same time. So I think it's not a proof, like it's very very small example, but I think it's really correlated. Like if you're doing the work to basically create expert content in your niche, that should end up ranking for your keyword. Basically, it will also end up being in the AI overview or AI search.
Agreed. Eric, what do you think?
I pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. I would say the only caveat of what's different is actually what we were saying about YouTube earlier. Like, I think that that's an actual thing that wasn't true 5 years ago. That's true today, where overwhelmingly Google AI overview is pulling YouTube as a source in a really surprising way. And so I would say that that's like, if people want to walk away with one nugget where it's like, oh, but it's just the same as SEO, that's the one that really jumps out to me, where it's like, but that's not at all. That wasn't really the case before. And the theme is the same across everything that we're saying. And you see it in the job market as well. It's like junior level jobs are down 17% and senior level jobs are up 23%. So think about that from a content perspective. AI is basically omitting junior level content, so 10,000 words on like some random blog post, and it is amplifying senior level content. So a person who has a blog or a person who has a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers who goes super, super deep on one particular thing, whatever that may be, but tennis rackets, biotech, whatever it is, right? And then woodworking. And so they're going to say, oh, let's pull from the expert opinion because ChatGPT and AI, as of right now, they're not the expert opinion, but they can really amplify junior level work well in a way that if you are an expert, it makes your life a lot easier. And so I think that probably, my guess is that's going to be the theme for 2026 is like experts will win and, you know, and AI will automate some of the junior level stuff.
I just want to
I
double
think
click on something you said there, Eric, because I do. The reason this point's last is because it does tie together so many of the other points.
Hmm.
And when I'm thinking about where marketing is and the importance of some of the things we've talked about around thought leadership, about finding channels where maybe there's still an arbitrage, like Bing, right, where other people are not really looking at them and you can get value from them. When I'm thinking about podcasting and other things like that, I always get drawn back to that statement: nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM. And I really feel like we're in a world where you need to be the IBM of your niche industry so that when people are going to do that search that Mihaela talked about, your product and brand is the branded term that they put in there. And there's ninja things you can do, right? You can bid on other people's product terms and brand terms in search ads. That's been a strategy for a long time. But how do you make yourself the IBM of your industry? And it's all the things we said. You have to have an interesting point of view and something to say that you cannot find in any crappy blog post that ChatGPT doesn't know yet because it's based on hard work and one experience. And then you need to like humanize your brand through things like podcasts, videos, and all these other elements so that you build genuine trust. Because everybody on this call so far has talked about how the shackles are up, how the defenses are up for AI content. Like I see an M dash, I'm like, no, it's junk. Oh, it's not this, it's this. That must be junk. Oh, that AI video looks a bit AI. That must be junk, 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 junk. When we're creating content as content marketers, we have to deliver value and build trust in an authentic human way. That's how people will remember us, pay attention to what we say, actually subscribe to our content, ideally, so that we can build a relationship. That's why I love your newsletter so much, Joachim, and that's why I think newsletters are taking off in this way, because people are like, oh, there's so much terrible content that's created by AI. I really need a smart person who I trust to go curate the things I need to know. Because I don't trust AI or Google's algorithm or whatever to tell me what I need to know. I need a smart human who's walk the walk and can talk the talk. Because they're the people who I can rely on to actually give me accurate information that I can use. So I think when you look at everything we've talked about, it's led us to this point, right? Which is they're the reasons we chose those topics and why we think they're going to be so big in 2026, because the battle for the bottom of the funnel visibility is about owning the top of funnel through all the different mechanisms that we've talked about today.
that's really well said, Paul. Just one thing I wanted to add on because we didn't talk about it so much, but you touched on it, Eric, is do not sleep on video content in 2026. So I think it does tie in a lot of what we talked about already. But in this, authenticity winning, there's no more authentic format than video. And tying that also with paid advertising, all of the platforms are pushing more videos performing better than ever. So there's a lot of, it's been mentioned before in this conversation, but there's just so many ways you can use video content from organic to advertising. And I think it's going to be super critical and it's going to give a lot of companies that edge because there's a lot of white space. Not a lot of, traditionally, it's always been like very difficult for companies we work with to get any kind of video, let alone like kind of high quality. So um, I'd say that's definitely one thing to recommend in 2026.
It's great. Great little meta observation talking about video while on video.
While on video.
Yeah. I'm going to click. This everybody knows who's at the beginning. This is our first time using this software. But we can show questions. So I think we're wrapped up. We're at about an hour since a little over. So I think we got through everything. I'm going to see if this actually shows the question. Wow, it does. Can you guys see that? That is so
Yeah.
cool. That is
Go
so cool.
technology. Woo.
Yeah, that is awesome. Huge fan. How do you personalize the content at scale for specific niche target audience? Man, I wish so badly I could answer this question because we have some pretty incredible AI stuff that's a little under wraps right now. I don't think it's fully public yet, but we will be having a lot of AI content coming through the Supreme Pod in the future, so people can definitely listen to that. But that being said, that's just a teaser for the future. But I actually think this is one of AI's biggest use cases is creating content at scale, especially a little more on the pharma side of things, where you sort of have geographic areas and specific doctors that you're targeting in certain areas, and you have certain rules about what you can say to each individual one, and certain times you're trying to drive traffic to specific regions. And so being able to create many, many ads at scale that speak to those specific regions or that specific use case. And then also email marketing as well. The fact that you can create it all at scale. So for me, I actually think this is one of AI's best use cases is creating content at scales for niche audiences. But curious to see if anybody else in the group has any thoughts on this.
Just to add to that, so I mean, when you're looking at this kind of tactically, how you're going to approach this is persona segmentation, right? So you can't have like really high quality, well articulated messaging that appeals to absolutely everyone, right? You lose that specificity. And so even when you're in a niche market, you still have niche personas within that market that you want to target to. You're A different message is going to resonate with someone who's in procurement versus a scientist, but you're looking to market to both of those. So you want to basically segment your audiences further. And kind of what Eric was saying, in the past, that's difficult because it's a ton of work to figure out your persona. What are their pain points? What would resonate best with them? And do that for each one. And then on top of that, create all those ads, the messaging, the content that you can then put in front of that person to articulate in the way that they want to hear how your product or service is providing that solution for them. But with AI, you can do this a lot faster and at scale, as long as you have that expertise behind, you know, what is that persona like? What are their pain points? What are they looking for? So yeah, that's kind of how we scale it with AI without providing too much detail on it.
Yeah, it's been quite hard to not talk about some of the things we're not allowed to talk about on this call, but we will be able to talk about some of them at some point in the future. So if you're interested, keep an eye on what we're publishing on. But the critical bit, I love that was so beautifully described because ultimately we put the boot into AI quite a few times on the call, and I think that's because it has a lot of weaknesses. But a lot of those weaknesses can be solved by providing carefully architectured context. And as a human working with ChatGPT, that's quite hard. Even if you've played with like custom GPTs or projects, you can provide quite a lot of context as documents. But if you give it too much context, then the AI doesn't know what it should rely on or not, and it over indexes on a certain piece of information, or it thinks it has to use all of the 20 documents that you gave it in the project, and they should all be reflected in the thing that it's trying to create. And so I think there's a technological bridge that hasn't been crossed yet in many products out there, including ChatGPT. That means that this is still very hard, but I think it's coming, and it's coming in a reliable way.
I mean, you said, Paul, that scientists are critical. You can see it. We've been critical of AI, but that's how we identify our edge and how we can win. So
Let's see here. Oh, we have Paul. This is one of the questions. They're like, "Hey, I really enjoyed this podcast, but I mostly just enjoyed Paul." So,
Oh,
can
that's
I just get his?
mean. That's
Yeah,
mean,
I
Eric.
know. That's
We
flattering, though. I want to know your podcast too, Paul. You know.
we have a ton of podcasts, and I will address that comment on the LinkedIn live because I can see it here. Because we've got Supreme Pod. We're going to post Joachim's great podcast on there as well. The other one we had was called Life Science and Marketing. I'll put that on there. And if you like AI, we'll chuck in a little bonus for artificially intelligent marketing as well.
Love it. Love it. Well, lots of comments in here. Appreciate everybody kind of tuning in and all of that. Well, first of all, Joachim, I want to thank you, man. You are our guest of honor today. We love the content that you make. It's been really great to talk to you. We'll have to do it again at some
Thank
point
you.
as well. And
That was great. Happy to be
Mihaela,
here.
Paul.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, of course. Mihaela, Paul, I talk to you guys every day, but I guess thanks for coming too. I don't really know.
Always great to see you.
All right, everybody. Thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. See you later.